the full breakdown coming up right now at 5:30.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Kentucky lawmakers have advanced a bill that could lower your car tax bill for this year. Supply issues have translated into older cars being worth more, and as a result, the tax bills that started going out last month reflected that. A bill could change how the taxes are assessed. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on the legislation.
Taxable value is a lot more.
Going to pay your car taxes might require a little more cash this year.
And quite frankly, this is a market correction. It's not a tax increase.
Supply chain issues with newer cars is older cars worth more. As a result, because of the way they're assessed, your property tax bill will also be more.
It wasn't that we raised taxes. The state didn't raise, the county didn't raise, the county school didn't raise. No one raised taxes over this period of time. So it was all based on the value of vehicles.
Is House Bill 6.
The House panel voted unanimously to approve a bill that sets the trade-in value to average instead of clean.
House Bill 6 follows concerns from my constituents regarding a letter that they received from the executive branch stating that their motor vehicle appraiser values would be increasing by 40% in 2022 compared to 2021.
There is a provision in this bill which states that you'll get a refund if you've already paid your car taxes this year, but some have raised questions on how long that will take and who will issue those refunds.
Information in as quick as possible.
Franklin County's clerk says there may be issues in paying back money that's already been allocated to other agencies.
And we pay all the taxing districts on a monthly basis, so we have already paid out these taxes.
Hancock also says that it's not clear if the refunds will be issued by his office or if they'll come from the state. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The bill now goes to the full House for consideration. We're getting a look at the arrest of a man at a middle school basketball game in Woodford County. It happened last night during a game between McNabb Middle and Bourbon County. Police say Mark West got aggressive with an officer, getting in his face and clenching his fist. A school resource officer says West smelled of alcohol, and when he tried to arrest him, he felt a firearm. The officer says West tried to pull away and punch him, but he pinned West to the ground and handcuffed him. The Versailles police chief and the Woodford County superintendent are calling the officer a hero.
The message I'd like to send is remember that it's about the kids, and we're here to support them.
Woodford County school officials are reviewing their athletic event policies. Right now it is standard to have at least one school resource officer present, but they're looking into whether there should be more.
Well, it's been a beautiful day yet again around the mountains today. Plenty more where this came from for much of the rest of the week. A couple of changes, though, on the way as we head into the 7-day forecast. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Let's talk about how nice it is outside right now. High knob camera at UVA-wise, they're a little bit cooler than everybody else. A little bit higher elevation down into the low 40s at this hour. Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County, another beautiful sunset in progress. Upper 40s here in two portions of Perry County. That's where many of us are at this hour. Upper 40s and low 50s around the mountains. Our coldest spots, again, higher elevations. Wise at 41 and Pine Mountain sitting at 40. Everybody else, well above average. Pinpoint Doppler, a clean sweep around the region. Nothing to worry about in terms of any kind of rain or snow or anything like that. At least for tonight. As we look through the rest of our evening on that WYMT weather app, always keeping that handy, and you'll need it a little bit later on in the week, but for now, we're staying in the 30s for many of us tonight. In fact, many of us may not even head below freezing as we head through tonight. I'll have the very latest on when we could see a return to a few showers and how long the beautiful weather sticks around as well, coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. The U.S. Coast Guard is warning of rough conditions on the Ohio River because of high water. Guard officials say higher than usual water levels are creating stronger currents. They also say debris, rip currents, and eddies are showing up in areas along the river where they do not normally occur. The Coast Guard received reports of ships striking fixed objects in several areas. No injuries or spills from the incidents had been reported. Jury selection is set to resume in the high-profile trial of a former Kentucky police officer involved in the deadly raid that killed Breonna Taylor. The proceedings have been delayed for about a week in Louisville because of inclement weather and after former officer Brett Hankinson had to have minor surgery. Hankinson is not charged in Taylor's 2020 shooting death, but prosecutors say Hankinson fired shots during the drug raid that went into a neighboring apartment, endangering others. A judge widened the jury pool because of heavy publicity surrounding Taylor's death and racial injustice protests that took place in Louisville throughout 2020. U.S. Representative John Yarmuth has endorsed Morgan McGarvey as his choice to succeed him in Congress. McGarvey has amassed a huge fundraising advantage over his primary rival, State Representative Attica Scott, in the Louisville area 3rd District. At their appearance yesterday, Yarmuth referred to McGarvey as a, quote, true champion of progressive values. Scott responded to the endorsement by saying black women are, quote, always told to wait our turn, and says that includes Democratic politics. Officials in the Kentucky town where Abraham Lincoln was born are gearing up to celebrate the 213th anniversary of the event. City officials in Hodgenville say the Lincoln Museum and Lincoln Days are working together to host events on Saturday that include 2 wreath-laying ceremonies, a statue rededication, and a luncheon. A spokeswoman for the Abraham Lincoln Birthplace National Historical Park said the superintendent will speak after a floral wreath is placed at the symbolic birth cabin. Lincoln Days President Pat Durham said another wreath will be placed at downtown Hodgenville's Boyhood Lincoln statue, which will be rededicated. A fraternity at West Virginia University has been suspended for a reported hazing incident. A Delta Chi fraternity was suspended yesterday, effective immediately. The university says the interim suspension prevents Delta Chi from recruiting activities, involvement in social functions, and other restrictions. The university says the allegations did not include alcohol or controlled substances, but it did not elaborate on the hazing other than to say it is a violation of the Student Conduct Code. With gas prices rising sharply and the Biden administration pushing clean energy, renewable fuels are driving some of the discussion in Washington. As the EPA considers updating biofuel blending requirements, our D.C. Bureau reporter Kristen Casper talks us through some of the arguments fueling the debate.
To reduce greenhouse gas emissions and reliance on imported oil. That's why Congress created the Renewable Fuels Standard program in 2005. But now, years later, the U.S. is below target, and the EPA wants to move the mile marker a bit closer. The RFS program requires that gas sold in the U.S. is blended with a minimum amount of renewable fuel, such as ethanol or biodiesel. The number was set to increase each year, reaching up to 36 billion gallons in 2022. The problem? We aren't there yet. The EPA is now proposing to lower the 2022 standard to around 20 billion gallons, while also retroactively scaling back the requirements for 2020 and 2021.
It has the impact of sort of kicking the can down the road.
While Jeff Cooper with the Renewable Fuel Association is against the retroactive revision, saying it'll give refiners an easy break, he does strongly support the EPA's plan for this year.
We feel like that proposal would get the renewable fuel standard back on track by restoring the volumes to the levels intended by Congress.
On the flip side, Frank Macchiarola with the American Petroleum Institute claims the requirements are unattainably high. He wants the RFS to be repealed or modified, saying the program is a constraint on the fuel supply system.
It started at a time when we were in a very different picture with respect to energy security. And so now is a good time to look at it with a fresh set of eyes.
Industry officials expect a decision from the EPA within a few months. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kristen Casper.
The EPA updates volume requirements each year based on fuel availability. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, 'tis the season for damaging winter weather, but are you prepared if it hits? We'll share some tips from an expert to help you navigate home insurance claims.
And our tranquil pattern continues this week as high pressure continues to stay put, at least for now. I got the very latest on the way next.